everybody, welcome back to That Fiction Life. Today we're talking about Dry by Neal and Jarrod Shusterman. If you've been on my channel before, you know that I have interviewed Neal previously on my channel earlier in the year. We talked about Scythe, his trilogy, which has its finale next year in September. So to get another book in between that trilogy coming out was a godsend, because you could never have enough words written by Neal, and he co-wrote this particular book with his son Jarrod. I'm going to tell you all about it. It's going to be a spoiler-free review. I will leave links to where you can buy the book below if you are interested. I would highly recommend, I'm already telling you that I love it. So this book, I read it, and now I'm scared of life. It's a dystopian world, but uniquely so, because we begin the story where we see a somewhat regular modern world, unlike other dystopians, which always seem to start where the world is already a mess. But here we encounter our characters having the normal life as we see today. Slightly different is the fact that water is running out. So it is set in California, and the water supply runs out, and they call this the tap out. And our main character's street pretty much becomes a war zone because everyone starts panicking about what the hell this means. Just imagine turning on the tap and nothing coming out. So Alyssa's parents, who is one of our main characters, they go missing, and it's kind of up to her brother, and her next door neighbor to fend for themselves, to not die from dehydration. I mean, with all the protagonists are in different circumstances. So Kelton, Alyssa's next door neighbor, lives in a sort of fortress. His parents are very paranoid about everything, so they have all these backup plans for any zombie apocalypse. So they are prepared for this, okay? They have these special tanks in their garden. They have booby traps around their house so no one can get into their water. The atmosphere in this story is so chilling that instinct to survive overpowers any kind of human morals, and they no longer look at each other as if they are people, but more so like an animal pack just fighting for survival. And it creeped me the hell out because it was this kind of dehumanization happening throughout this book, and everything was just getting darker and darker as people were getting thirstier. There also is a dog in this book. I tabbed it. I'm a professional. I'm not exaggerating when I say that this book will make you thirsty AF. And I mean that in the actual definition of the word, not the fangirl type. Keep some water handy next to you when you read. The writing is so vivid and everything is just too real that I was panicking. Everything was so convincing. You almost have to reassure yourself that this isn't actually happening to you. So throughout the story, our main protagonists take a journey as they're trying to find any source of water, and as they pick up a few new characters throughout the story, you get to hear from each of their perspectives. And I thought that was done very well, because I have a thing about different protagonists' POVs being done unjustly, and I hate when voices blend together. So in Allegiant, for example, I couldn't distinguish between the different speakers, but something like One of Us is Lying or Gilded Cage, there was this really great depth to each person that it felt like you were reading a different voice, which I really appreciated, and it was done beautifully. And each of the characters does have a little bit of their own individual arc that gets developed, and there's a lot of shocks that go along with some of these. At points when I was reading this, I was thinking there was no way in hell that this is actually happening, and I read these words. But newsflash, it was real. The story is also broken up with these news flashes. They call them snapshots, and they happen in between some of the chapters, and they give a little bit of an insight as to what's going on outside of what our characters are dealing with, and they show a little bit what other people that we don't really know about are doing. And even though this does give us a great insight into the rest of the country, even though this does tell us a little bit more about that, it did distract me from the overall story. And every time I got to one of them, I kind of thought, I want to go back to our protagonists. So I think they just took a little bit of getting used to, because towards the end they are crucial to telling the story. My favourite character has to be Jackie. I'm not sure if that's how you pronounce her name, but we're gonna go with it. She had this very badass persona about her. She's very feisty and she doesn't really follow the rules, and we all love a rebel. And surprisingly, Alyssa, the main character, I found the most difficult to care for. I much preferred hearing from Kelton's point of view rather than hers. So environment is a big part of this book, which I think was very smart to do, because in this point in time, some people still don't seem to believe that climate change is a real issue. So I think this book highlighting that is very important. This book could easily be reality all over the world, and it has been in a lot of places. So I think it brings to the forefront just how dangerous it is to not care about the environment. So I'm a little bit perplexed about the ending, and this isn't to say that I wasn't shocked and it wasn't an epic finale, because it did have some really great twists towards the end. I was thinking, what the F, where did this come from? But at the same time, I wish that we heard from all of the characters right at the end, because we were told about some of the fates and what happened to everyone through mere sentences and just from one POV at the end. And I'm not going to tell you who that is because that would be a spoiler, but I wish we got more of a detailed ending to all of the characters, because we did hear from all of them throughout the book. It's a multiple perspective story. But overall, I had a terrific time reading this book. And as horrific as it was a very cleverly written story. I hope you enjoyed my thoughts on it, and if you've read it, make sure to leave a comment below telling me what you thought. So as I said at the beginning, I'm going to leave links to the book. If you'd like to try the audiobook for this, I do have an affiliate link with Audible, so you can get your first book for free. So I'll pop that link in the description as well if you want to use your first free credit on this one. You can subscribe to my channel right up here if you haven't done so already, and my last video is just below that. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye!